welcome back to
Spells from the Shelf.
Spells from the Shelf. I'm Ammie.
I'm Paul.
And we're here to talk about Heir
By Sabaa Tahir.
by Sabaa Tahir. As you can see, we got a whole little setup going on here, so you guys can easily see the book title in the background. So for this book, this world in particular was set up kind of nicely. And we're going to give our rating first and see if we'll change our mind by the end of our discussion. So I rated this easily 5 stars.
Yeah, I love this book. I haven't read, and if you've read any of the other Sabaa Tahir books, which I have not, you get injected into this world really quickly. So this is a 5 for me. I was immediately captured by the characters and the magical systems and the immediate injection into the world. I mean, I don't know how you pick up books, Ammie, but usually I think you were like busting my chops. I was like, I totally pick up books on vibes, the same way I pick up. I was like, I put my hand over the book. Is this the right feeling? Do I like the cover? Do I like the first page? Like I usually read the first page, first paragraph.
The book is speaking to you.
I need the book to speak to me.
Which is very Spells from the Shelf coded. Me, right. I don't do it like that. I just you talked about Heir and I was like, oh, I haven't read a book of hers either. Mm-hmm. I had not read any book by her. And it was available on Libby, which if you guys aren't using Libby, I don't know what you're doing. It's how I get my free audiobooks from the library, FYI. But I was just enamored with this world. And I just want to say, do not listen to other people's ratings of books. It's all perspective. I'm telling you, a book that doesn't vibe with one person is going to vibe with you, because I almost didn't pick up Heir because of a couple of reviews that I had seen on it. And I would have missed out on a great story.
Yeah, I think the author here just created a great world. And it is a continuation of the Ember and the Ashes world.
Yes.
But again, you don't need to know the previous history to just pick this book up. And it's going to be a duology. So there's going to be another book coming out. As of today, there's no release date for that.
No,
conclusion
not
of
yet.
The duology.
Not yet. So this came out October 2024. And like Paulie said, Ember and the Ashes is a series that you could read before this, but you don't need to read it before going into this, because neither of us have read Ember and the Ashes. And there's no information lost on it because of how Tahir sets up her world system. She sets up her world system in a way that you can easily just be dropped into it, page 1, and she's telling you everything you need to know. Everything.
Yeah, you're stuck in her author clause pretty quickly. And I think, it's classified as young adult, but to me, like, young adult is largely a marketing gimmick. The point of view tends to be younger characters in YA books. But they are still generally coming of age quest books. Fans of Sarah J. Maas might have some things to say about that opinion, but it is alas an opinion.
It is an opinion.
So don't be like shook off or turned off by the idea of YA books. They still grapple with the same adult themes and often have really great magical systems.
They do. And YA novels, in my personal opinion, I feel like, especially in fantasy, it forces you to focus more on really important things like character development, world building, magic systems, those types of things. Don't get me wrong. We were just talking about this before. I do enjoy my spicy books, which if you're looking for spice in YA, you're looking in the wrong section. Okay. And it's not going to be there. You need to look elsewhere. Okay.
Again, another place Sarah Maas fans might disagree with you, but for goodness sakes, I don't think we need YA spice.
We do not need YA spice. Please exit if you feel that YA needs spice. See ya. But it doesn't need these things. And I really love being kind of immersed in just a really well done world. And this was a great book recommendation from you. I got a new author that I'm going to be picking up her books now.
Yeah, I can't wait to read the Ember and the Ashes series after this one, because this one just had me hooked. And I was like, oh my God, I need more of this author. I need more of this story. I need more of this world.
Yes.
So summary. So let's talk about Heir. As we've got 3 characters that we're kind of following. Aiz, Quill, and Saoirse.
Yes.
Saoirse's my savage heroine that I thematically tend to gravitate towards.
Upon reading it, I was like, oh, yeah, I bet this is
there we
Paul.
go. There's a
I was
Pauly
like,
ticker.
I bet that's Pauly's favorite. I guarantee it.
So Saoirse's the tracker.
Yes.
And she comes from the Jaduna, which is a narrative part of this book. And it's basically a matriarchal world, or like a matriarchal tribe.
Yes, which I loved. Absolutely loved that aspect of it. Quill is our reluctant crown prince. I'm very much a fan of this type of trope, and I feel that I don't see it as much anymore. And I kind of really liked seeing that because it plays a lot into his character and how we see him develop. And then you have Aiz, who is looking for revenge.
Yeah, orphan, right?
Yes.
And, you know, the story builds around her on this vengeance quest because she's been wronged by Tyrell.
Yes.
And I can't remember, is she orphaned because of Tyrell? Or it's like, did Tyrell come and like destroy the world? Or her tribe, or like her neighborhood?
Orphaned because of him.
Yeah, because of him. So she and he's in power. So she basically just wants to reverse that whole scenario.
That is her great white whale. And Aiz is Moby Dick in this situation. And what's important about that is you have a character who, I'll say this before we talk more about the summary, a character who's willing to do anything it takes to get the vengeance that she is seeking. And you have these 3 different characters who kind of eventually all converge. But the important thing about Aiz's storyline is it takes a year prior to Quill and Saoirse's storyline. So when you're looking at Aiz's point of view for most of the book, it's a year prior, which is important to note. And don't worry, Tahir, make sure that you are never confused. I was never confused by where.
Yeah, the timeline arc flowed really well.
It does. And the way that she flows between the characters is because you get 3 point of views, and it's seamless. You're getting information all around, and she's leaving you breadcrumbs. And what most of them have in common, I shouldn't say all, but most of them have in common is they're looking for a killer who is unaliving children. Unaliving. Listen, I'm not trying to have social media take us down.
There's a demon that is slaying children.
Yes.
And Saoirse's job is, she's hired initially in the story to track down this demon and battle this demon. And she agrees to it without fully knowing like what kind of creature she's hunting, who she's hunting. So you're kind of on this road to discovery about this demon. And yeah, the demon kind of unifies the world in this way, or unifies all the characters in the story arc together. It
does. No, it's almost like a web. Tahir has created this web, and she gives us different pieces of the web. You have power, magic, and this entity that in a way they're all searching for. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the times when there's like a reveal, whether it's like a magical turning point where you've got like this Deus Ex Machina, God is a machine moment, like sometimes it's confusing to read, right? Like it's hard to say if the author has a visual idea and they had trouble putting it to page. Like I didn't find that in Heir at all. The minute there was like a reveal or something, the author's, it's really well written and clear about how everything stands. Reading some of Jensen, there were moments where on a separate book that we're going to talk about on a later podcast, there were magical reveal moments where I was very confused and I had to read over and over it again. That never happened in Heir. And I think that's credit to the author there.
I agree. She makes everything very crystal clear. And what's really vital about that is I feel what often happens with fantasy novels is people become intimidated by them because I think, and we've talked about this before, what everybody thinks of course, Lord of the Rings, which is very intricate, very high stakes, epic fantasy, and at times can be confusing because of how that author's style is. But if you're looking, this is another book that I personally, I think you would too. If you're looking to get into fantasy, this is a great author to do that with.
That's a great point. Like, I think a lot of people get introduced into these fantasy books through like Sarah Maas or even Bardugo, who I love immensely. But if you haven't dipped your toe into fantasy or YA yet, Heir is a great starting point. That's definitely underrated there.
Very underrated, which I would even, so I know a lot of people hear about the term on different social media spaces, underhyped, overhyped, appropriately hyped. Now, I'm going to preface that with, it does not mean that a book is good or bad. It just means that sometimes certain books get more traction than others and starts to be hyped. I would say that Heir is egregiously underhyped. Egregiously. Yeah. Because it is just not something that would have come across my radar enough if it had not been recommended to me. And you have...
By a trusted podcaster.
By a trusted podcaster. Listen, we're all just growing our TBRs here. Like, the books will just keep growing. I don't have a copy of this book, shockingly, because I listened to it. So we have two different perspectives here. Mm-hmm. You read it, I listened to it, and it's interesting that both of us there was no confusion though between us. Mm-hmm. Now, did you have a favorite part of this?
Oh, a favorite part. I don't know if I had a favorite part, but because I liked all the journeys. I liked, Saoirse has a sister that comes from the Judoona tribe, and they just hate each other.
She's delightful.
I know, they absolutely hate each other. That was like because at some point, like, you feel like if you have siblings, or even if you don't have siblings, you're gonna fight with somebody you live with all the time, marriage or otherwise. But with the siblings, there's like a special type of hatred. And in Heir, I feel like it's really captured. Like, Saoirse's sister really wants to kill her, and there's no like redemption about it, any which way around it. Saoirse's sister just wants to kill her. And I found that an interesting like part of the story.
I did too.
I think one of my favorite elements was really the ending. It kind of caught me a little bit by surprise. So I don't want to give away too much about the ending, or I'll throw a spoiler here. They get the demon that Saoirse tracks down. They end up getting tethered, and they're like locked away. And I don't know if it's like another world or like a magical prison. It's hard to like. That part is left open ended. I think for the second book, it's not confusing.
No, but not at all.
But I thought that was a great way to kind of end it. I think a lot of the times when you look at magical systems, there's always this give and take, right? This quid pro quo that's happening.
For sure.
And this was something where you've been rooting for Saoirse the whole time, and now she's tethered to this demon.
Rooting for Saoirse the whole time. Maybe you weren't.
I was.
I was rooting for her, but to be fair, Paulie did call me out before we started recording because I was also rooting for Aiz a little bit. So
you feel total compassion for Aiz.
You do. You feel compassion that. So here's a spoiler, and I would say it's only going to take me like 30 seconds to say this, so you can skip ahead 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this. But Aiz has been bamboozled, hoodwinked, led astray by a religious figure, or what she thought was a religious figure, or is it? That's the thing I feel was very possible, open-ended point to the story where we don't know if it could be because of different clues that we were getting from Quill specifically. Like, I'll say this quote because it was such a good quote. No one can manipulate those with faith like a person who has none.
Yeah.
And Aiz is a character that has a lot of faith. It embodies her being, in my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she'll follow whatever this Mother Div deity
tells her to
do, no matter what the cost.
And the cost is very high. So, spoiler again, you can skip ahead 30 seconds here. Aiz has been, Mother Div is speaking to her and has been convincing her to unalive children for this, what she believes is a greater cause.
Yeah.
To accomplish her revenge sequence.
Yeah. So it's basically a trade for power. Mother Div gives her this amazing power. And that power comes from eating children's souls.
Which is it. And here's the thing. It was really, I think that was a hard part for me.
Yeah.
Because I really, and I did say, and we were laughing about it, I said, I support women's rights and wrongs, but that's a hard wrong to support there. And that really, so I supported Aiz up until that part, until I found out that she is what they have been hunting this entire time. And
I think what Sabaa Tahir does really well, the author, is you want Aiz to be redeemed.
You do.
So far. So it's like, when you say you support rights and wrongs, of course, because you're like, for the most of the book, you're really rooting for Aiz because she's been wronged, but you don't understand what she's doing to right that wrong up until later on.
You do. And once I did, and it was really hard in that moment. So I'm listening to it. Okay. So I'm listening to it and I had to keep going back. I kept hitting back 30 seconds and I was like, wait, Aiz, you're not doing that. Aiz, girl, let's talk. Hold on. Slow your roll. Let's talk about this. Let's discuss. And the whole time I was thinking to myself, and this could just be because I don't trust people. I didn't trust that Mother Div from the beginning was good because it sounded very like snake charmer.
Yeah. And I think the author also puts in like some foreshadowing, right? Like there's some hints that it's not a completely benevolent being.
No.
And then, what's interesting about Aiz too, and the decision she's making, the very people. So she's kind of like this ruler figure, right? And she's taking control and leading a rebellion against Tyrol. So again, like you're rooting for this kind of underdog character until you're not. But she's not just taking, like, she doesn't have children yet. I mean, I don't know if she will in the second book, but the very people she's seeking to protect is she's taking their children.
She's taking them.
That's like that deep reversal where it's like, oh no.
And that's the moment that I couldn't root for her anymore. Once I learned that, I was really upset because I was rooting for Aiz that entire time. And the author really makes you root for her.
Yeah.
She does a fantastic job of doing it. Like, Aiz is this character that you feel, like you said, you feel really sorry for. You feel for her. You want her to have success in her vengeance, but you find out that she is not a heroic, vengeful person. She does not balance that line correctly.
Yeah.
And she teeters to the other side of it.
Yeah, this corruption of power.
Of power. Just complete corruption of power. And now Quill and Saoirse, they were great characters to put together, I felt.
Yeah.
Their banter back and forth with each other and how they spoke to one another was just, I thought, fantastic. And they're almost like trying to trick one another so that they don't have to reveal their own set of secrets.
Yeah.
And neither one of them knows who to believe at any point in time.
Yeah, Quill has this code, right? Because he's grown up in royalty. He has a certain code of, around his princely duties and obligations. And he has his own code of conduct. And Saoirse has her own code of conduct.
Yes, she does.
And they are very much in conflict with each other. Yeah. It makes for a very fun banter, as you said.
It does.
So it's a great element to the story as well to enjoy.
No, it is. It's a great element in the story. And I think that the cool part about this is, I think we can touch on the magical system. Is I liked that it was slowly kind of integrated into the story because it's like an important piece to especially Saoirse and Quill's character, because both of them are almost trying to hide
they both
what they have.
Yeah.
Like,
so the three main characters all have their own kind of different magic, right?
Yes.
Saoirse's this tracker, and she can sense like the wind, and she tracks through wind and earth, and like they can like echo back to Fragile Threads of Power. She can see like threads. It's how she tracks.
She can talk to the elements, speak with them,
and see the threads,
which was very visual and really nicely done. And Aiz has wind magic. So far alone is what you see the most. And Quill, if I remember, we know that he has some kind of magic, but he's been really keeping that close to his chest. How exactly his magic? Because it like kind of, he hid it from Saoirse for a good long while in the book. And when she finds out, she's very surprised.
Yeah, there's like this element. Is he the djinn, or is like Div the djinn? Does it like what I remind me of some of
that's
like
what I was trying
magic.
to remember.
It was like memory or something.
Yes,
right?
His is memory. Okay, yes. His is like a memory type of magic.
Yeah.
Which I think she'll tackle more in the second book.
Yeah.
I think it's going to become a big part, because the way that she was setting up Quill's character. So here's another important element to what I think both of us can agree is a great 5-star book, is how the characters develop. They don't have to be perfect and perfectly developed in the first book, but you need to see something happening with them. And I like how you have a juxtaposition of Quill and Saoirse's characters developing in what I would call the right direction, and Aiz's character developing backwards. Because how she starts out is someone who is looking to right the wrongs of others who have been hurt by someone, but that's not actually what she's doing. She's the one doing the hurting.
Yeah.
So I it's very rare to see an author show you the decline of development.
Yeah. Yeah, with Quill, and that's a great juxtaposition too, like what you mentioned there. Like Quill, you're kind of discovering his magic with him.
Yes.
You know, because it's dormant, and he knows a little bit about it, and he doesn't use it throughout the book, but he is, like you said, keeping it close to his chest, and you're kind of on this discovery journey. He doesn't fully know the extent of it either, because he's been so reluctant about being a prince. He's also been reluctant about using his magical powers. And
I think, and I kind of want to jog my memory here, I think that Saoirse was helping him with his magic too. Once she found out, I think she almost said something like, you can't have it be so untamed, which is true, because it can, if you don't have tamed magic, it can cause, well, not what you want it to cause.
Burn out any number of consequences. That
maybe you do something bad that you don't mean to do. But it was just a really rich. I don't think there's nothing that I could say that was bad about it. It was so rich.
It was a really rich book, which is why I can't wait to read. I've Googled endlessly, when is the next book coming out?
Is it, because I think she still hasn't said anything.
Yeah, there's no date as of yet, but I know the fans are waiting. And, she's on a bestseller list, so there's plenty of fans. But in the meantime, we can dig into Ember in the Ashes.
Meantime, yeah, there is a character. Spoiler a little bit, because it's from the characters in this. There's the son of two characters from Ember in the Ashes, Sufrian. I like Sufrian.
Oh yeah, he's kind of the
fun.
debonair spy. Yeah.
He's kind of fun. He was a nice, best friend to Quill moment. Kind of really balanced his character out. Kind of called him on his crap sometimes, and I like that. I like that in a best friend in a book.
And it was Sufjan's sister that ends up dying, and this is revealed early on, from the Mother Div demon.
Yep. Which kind of doesn't make up his character, but it's an important part of his character, because he doesn't allow it to drive him. So his vengeance is not negative, I would say. I would think that that's another juxtaposition. You have Aiz, who's also seeking vengeance, but the purpose behind the vengeance is just not, it's different. Like he's more of a light positive character, and she's becoming more of a dark negative character.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, when like Aiz's character finds out that she's been like hoodwinked this whole time, you want her, spoiler, to be like, oh my God, I did this terrible thing.
You think there might be some redemption.
Yeah. I did this awful, terrible thing. Let me correct it. She leans in, and that's the moment you can't feel bad for her anymore.
Yeah, she's willing to continue to take children's lives to get the power.
To
defeat Tyrell.
And the thing that was really kind of alarming is the way that she justifies it continually. She's like absolutely justifies it. And there was another quote that Quill said that I loved. When you sacrifice other people's children on the altar of your ambition, it's only a matter of time before you'll be willing to sacrifice your own. Which, like, that's
chilling.
Yeah, which is very chilling. Like, I think I listened to that quote many times back to back to back.
Mm.
Like, I almost burnt dinner that night. I was like,
must have been a good narrator on that audio.
I was like, this is getting really good. Oh no, I'm burning my dinner. Well, I mean, that's a great thing about audiobooks is you can kind of have them on, but like when they're good, they're good.
Yeah, and I think, the quote resonates in lots of ways, right? Like the minute you start down a path, like you shouldn't do something. And if you end up doing it, it just makes it that much easier to do it again.
Yes.
Right? Like you see that theme in life, in stories, movies, books, whatever. But it's like the minute you do something once, you've crossed that line.
And there's no going back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Tahir really kind of gives us that in Aiz's character.
Yep.
And the fact that she gave us the point of view of essentially the villain the entire time and didn't tell us that they were the villain until the moment that you realize, there's something up with this Mother Div. I don't trust this religious figure that everybody's enamored with.
Yeah, and I think the way the author does that is like throughout the story, she's peppering the history of Mother Div and all the great things she's done. So you're getting kind of like these parables of Mother Div and the whole group or there's these tribes of people that follow Mother Div and raise her up and worship her. So you're unsure as the reader coming into it.
You really are. And what's great about the world building that Tahir does, and I wonder if she does this in her other series as well, is she's giving it to you as the characters are doing their dialogue.
Yes. Show, don't tell.
Yes.
Oh, man. That was one of my biggest beefs with Sunrise on the Reaping.
You got so serious with that. You were like, listen.
Oh, my God. Like, there's so many times where just use dialogue. Let the characters talk. Let that magic unfold. Don't give me just blocks of text to read on like an inner monologue of a character. Like, give me the dialogue. The show, don't tell. The show, don't tell.
And that, but you could do it. I was thinking, it could be done in a single point of view arena of writing. But what I think is nice about multiple point of view is then you get also the different like angles of something that's being talked about. And what I like about that kind of world building, to your point, is you don't get bogged down in the information.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel lost in the information. You don't feel like you need a book to help you understand said book. Like, I need this to now understand this. Like, that's too.
Yeah, spot on.
And that's why, like I said in the beginning, this is a book that you could read, never have read a fantasy book before, and you will be dropped right into this world. And it's got like a Middle Eastern kind of like feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nothing that's inherently officially familiar.
Yeah, I would agree. I think with the same way you might see another fantasy book like borrow from like Eastern European or from, elements of ancient Egypt or, yeah, she is bringing in this kind of backdrop. Especially around some of the names.
Yes, especially around some of the names.
And like there's gypsies, right? Like they're finding with the book, they're trying to find out this book of Mother Div that's been lost, and they're trying to read the language of it. And I think it contains some story reveal about Mother Div, but it's in like another language. But it's only like this elder gypsy tribe woman that knows the story.
Yes.
She's like, oh, that story is sacred, and we don't always tell that story.
Oh, I forgot about that element of it, that there was a story that, because that's what Aiz's main like journey was about, was trying to get
that book,
mm-hmm. Mother Div's story. And that was one of the and journeys are great in especially fantasy settings, because, or we can do it even well in a sci-fi setting, but especially in fantasy settings, because there's a goal in mind and you kind of have to see how things play out in order to see if they succeed mm-hmm. in that journey. And I'm just still upset about Aiz being bad.
I could feel the disappointment.
I was so disappointed. I was like, no, she's not unaliving little kids. Aiz wouldn't do that. Aiz is a good person. No, Aiz is been bamboozled, hoodwinked, led astray.
And that's one of the key differences. Like I talk a lot in this podcast about really enjoying and reading about savage heroines. There's a difference between savage and ruthless, right?
There is a difference between savage. Yes.
Right. Ruthless is do anything at any cost to achieve your goal. To me, when I use the word savage, it's really capturing leadership qualities. You have to make hard decisions sometimes.
Right.
And those decisions will have a cost, right? There's nuance to every decision. And yes, sometimes that may involve death in the story, mm-hmm. but killing large swaths of children, even in fantasy, is always bad.
Is always bad. It's bad in nonfiction and fiction. Don't do that. And once you find that, but that's what crosses the line between mm-hmm. savage and ruthless.
Yeah.
And I think that's another juxtaposition that we're given. Saoirse and Aiz getting a year separated timeline of their like point of views before they converge almost kind of shows you how Saoirse does not cross that line.
Yeah, Saoirse and Aiz's journey basically start at the same point. It's compassion.
Right.
They're starting with compassion, and just they get brought down these very different paths.
Very different paths, which I don't know if everybody knows this or if I've said this to you before, but there is, I feel like Stan Lee might have said this. That's right. I brought up a Marvel thing. Stan Lee, I think he said this in an interview, that the hero and the villain tend to have the same backstory. They tend to have the same tragedy, very similar tragedies happen to them, or some kind of trauma that occurs. And it's about how their character chooses to take that trauma. Some of them choose to become heroic, and some of them choose to become villainous. And that's what she gives us in this book.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe she's a Marvel fan.
Maybe.
And I'd be a fan of that.
She was at Comic-Con promoting the book. So
was she at Comic-Con?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Okay. That explains a lot. With
great power comes great responsibility.
Comes great responsibility. She has great power writing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, this book.
All right, so go out and get it, folks.
Yeah, seriously, you need to go get this book. I don't think either one of us has changed our rating.
No, not at all. Well, we both came to this book with happy surprises. You picked it up after understanding there were terrible reviews on it, and then I picked it up on Vibes at like this independent bookstore, and I was like, "Ooh, what's this?"
Can I tell you something that I do sometimes when I see, not all the time, but sometimes there's a small part of me that when I see somebody doesn't like a book, it's almost like challenge accepted. I'm going to read this book and I'm going to like it more than you did. And I'm going to show you.
I haven't gotten the contrarian vibe on reviews. I listen to the podcasts about the books, but usually it's a lot of summary and, like the 15-second blurbs on like TikTok. Hated it. Loved it, hated it, loved it, underhyped, overhyped. It's fun to follow, but
It doesn't
Ideally,
give
you just
enough.
got to read your own thing.
Yeah. You just have to. Here's the important message for today. Read what you want to read and enjoy it. That's the whole point of reading.
Listen to our podcast.
Yeah, listen to our podcast and we'll tell you what to read, but also make sure that you're enjoying what you're reading.
Go your own way.
You can go your own way. Well, now I got Fleetwood Mac stuck in my head.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot. Although that's not a bad thing to have stuck in your head. But thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Spells from the Shelf. Be sure to
smash that subscribe button.
Subscribe so you can get notified whenever new episodes come out. We have TikTok Spells from the Shelf, Instagram Spells from the Shelf. We are everywhere.
Spellsfromtheshelf.com, where you can hit us up, give us some feedback, comments.
Yes.
Suggestions.
Absolutely. And next time we're going to be discussing Danielle Jensen.
A Curse Carved in Bone.
Yes. What a cool title. All right, guys. Until next time.
Bye.
See ya.